Yeah. Hello, everybody. It's Kate Richburg.
Good morning. It's Emily Miller.
And we are live from beadshop.com. How are you?
I need another cup of coffee.
That's right. It's our last broadcast of the year. Last broadcast of 2017. Oh my gosh. You know,
It's kind of amazing how this year went by.
it
was a blink.
it has been fast and furious and all good things. We've been so super creative.
Yep.
You know, done so many.
Well, it's been really great working together.
Yeah, it has been.
You know, kind of getting the band back together.
Yeah,
As they
it
say.
is, as they say. And it's always great to have Janice come back when she visits. You know, she's going to be here in January. I think the January 17th episode in the new year, Janice has something new to share.
I saw that.
And I see that Janice is on.
Hi, JP.
Fantastic. Thank you, Janice. And I know, Janice, that you look fabulous on the other side of the screen. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we have, Emily, a lot of new viewers to our Facebook Lives.
Right.
And so I wanted to go over a few kind of, I don't know, informational points, I guess, for everyone. You know, you guys, for beadshop.com, for our Facebook Lives, we do kind of this big broadcast every Wednesday that kind of encompasses not only some chit-chat, some hellos, some connecting around the world, around the bead table, but we also really endeavor to teach you something new every week.
I
right?
love to teach. You and I live to teach.
We
actually.
do. Teaching
all this
is
other
our-
stuff is just to get us to this.
It's just to get us right here. You, me, Janice. That's right. Our goal is to get right here around this bead table. But you can find us. I know a lot of you. I saw messaged on our Facebook Live community group page. The bead table, had messaged and said, "Oh, I'm so excited. I'm on vacation. I get to watch you live for the first time." So welcome to a lot of our live viewers if you're watching us for the first time. If you can't watch us live, there's a few ways that you can watch us after the fact and gather all of this learning. There are three ways. You can watch us. We're always here on our Facebook Live page, right? And you can go to the video section. They're all archived. You can go to our website, beadshop.com, and if you click on, there's a Facebook Live button right there, or there's also Facebook Live right in the top navigational bar. You can click on that, and you'll see every episode archived, and with a materials list, episode notes that you can download and click and follow along. It's kind of like the cliff notes of our broadcast. It's really great.
I really like going on the website because I like looking at the pictures in that layout. We have a little thumbnail kind of layout, and there, the most current one or most recent one is in the upper left-hand corner.
Right, under the projects.
Under the projects.
Right,
and
or under the Facebook Live page. Right.
I love looking at those pictures because, in a funny way, you know, we don't get to see everything until it's all done.
Yeah. So
until we're done here.
Yeah, it gives you a great visual of all the projects and stuff that we've done. And with the episode notes, I feel like, I know a lot of you download them, but there's a lot of learning in there. So, and then of course the third way, which I know a lot of you find us, is through YouTube. And I know that sometimes this broadcast, when it's live, we do a lot of chitty chat, we do a lot of back and forth, and sometimes that always doesn't translate to the YouTube because you can't really see the comments and questions that the audience has. So you can always supplement that by going back to our Facebook Live, beadshop.com page, and you can see kind of the running commentary. I also saw a few of you actually prefer watching the broadcast without all of the notes and the chitty chat and the comments.
Right.
You can, when you're watching on Facebook Live, I think if you swipe left or right, or depending on what app you have and stuff, you can hide the comments and just watch the video as well.
Yeah.
And of course, to get past kind of all of our hello, how are you kind of commentary, you can slide,
business things.
Our business, our business meeting, right? It's like when you go to a craft meeting, a quote guild or whatever, they get all of that guild business out of the way.
Right. Dues are due.
Right, and, all of that. Well, then all the real kind of meat of the broadcast starts at about 10 to 15 minutes in. So if you slide that minute marker forward about to minute marker, somewhere between 10 and 15, you're going to see the start of the broadcast, or the educational part of the broadcast, anyway.
Right.
And also in the episode notes, when you download those, Drea or Janice, whoever's writing those notes, has a minute marker at where the learning begins.
The episode notes are it's such a nice paced document. It kind of moves along quickly, and it's not that it's brief, because it goes sometimes to 8 or 10 pages worth of info, but it does kind of get you to the high points and get you to those learning moments where if you've gotten one part and you want to move a little faster and move forward and say, oh yeah, got that.
Yeah, so you can jump ahead.
You can jump ahead. And those, I almost said cliff notes. The episode,
the episode notes, that's right.
The episode notes really do, they really are the other part of our labor here that we do, you know, because
they're
normally
so
if we were teaching a class, we would have a handout
class
for you.
handout, exactly.
So it's really the second part.
Well, and it's so impressive, you know. I think, you know, we do the kind of in front of the camera thing, which is pretty easy. Janice and Drea do all that heavy lifting with those episode notes, and Brandon takes photos, and Grace takes photos, and so it's a real team effort. So it's a great way to kind of condense this broadcast and pull it past into some learning to make the learning work for you. All right. Well, I know Janice is online saying hello to everybody, right, Brandon?
And Ginger was wondering about your pin, and Janice was saying she's sure it's one of Gran's.
Well, so I'll tell you a little brief, since Janice said it's from Grant's. This actually, Gracie, our Grace, brought in a few things. I don't know, it was a couple months ago. From her, Gracie and I think we're just half of the same person sometimes, I think. She brought in some really cool pieces that she'd been collecting from her grandmother, and so graciously shared them with many of us here. And so this is actually not from my gran, but from Grace's gran. So I thought I'd wear it today.
Piece. It
I'm
really
kind of on a brooch kick. I think the holidays kind of make you want to wear a little sparkle.
I have a little something on my sweater these days,
Yes.
my little Christmas stocking.
Yes.
You know?
And what you're wearing today, Emily, looks beautiful.
You know, I was having a little moment with polka dots this morning. And I know usually you're the polka dot and I'm striper. Well, we go back and forth.
We coordinated again, as usual. But your necklace is fantastic.
Thank you.
And I think it's really timely with what we're doing today. We're going to be doing some wire wrapping
We had
today.
a little bit of a chain beaded kind of thing connecting.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And you made that chain.
Yeah, it's metal clay.
It is metal clay.
Yeah.
One of your first.
Sorry.
Someone got a text right in the middle of the broadcast.
So sorry. I thought I
We're
had
so
double
popular.
checked.
Is that
it was
you?
turned off.
Is that
and now
you,
it's off.
Lindy? No, I don't know. What
My
what
sister.
customer is it? Oh.
Are you at work today? Yeah.
Actually, right now. I'm at work right now. We always say before the broadcast, turn off your cell phones.
I checked it earlier and I
That's
must
right.
have turned it on.
Instead of off. What are you going to do? But the metal clay piece, I know that's something that you've been working with a really long time. And I think some of the techniques that you're going to pick up today, you guys will... it's not exactly, you know, something like this, but this is kind of, I think, a good example of, you know, taking some of the techniques that we're sharing with you today and kind of applying them to what you're doing. This, I know, are just little metal clay, little discs that you made, right?
Yeah.
Two-sided. Yeah. One, I bet that's like a texture plate there and a texture plate here.
Those are 5s on the other
Yeah,
side. So.
they're really great.
I really like the idea of chain interspersed with beads. And I sometimes I do it where I do what I call a 50-50, where it's chain around the back and then beads around the front. And we did it earlier this year.
Kind of like you did in that pearl knotting piece, right?
And chain is interesting to work with. You know, sometimes you see a chain that's this exact same chain that you saw in 10 Things in Anthropology or on, you know, somewhere along the line. And I really like to pick out my own chain and do my own things. So unfortunately, I tend to be one of those people that needs to grow the wheat to make the flour to make the bread. Sometimes.
So you smelted the metal to draw the wire to make your own chain.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's terribly tiresome.
You
know,
do
I'm
too,
just
I
kidding.
know.
Okay, I know. You're right. My rolling mill, roll out that wire.
So sometimes I find that I can't find what I want. And it's fun to make my own sort of feel. One thing that I've seen for a long time and I've always really admired is that's sometimes available to buy is chain by the foot or wire wrap beads by the foot.
Yeah.
And so this was sort of my emulation of that, but with my own Chris Phase beads that I picked out.
And so the this piece that you have here, it doesn't have a clasp.
No clasp.
It just goes right over the head.
I hate clasps.
And this, I know, right? Who hates a
Tiresome.
clasp? So crazy. But what I really love about this is that this piece can go. I'm gonna style you.
Mm-hmm.
This can go anywhere, right? And it kind of relates
it
to
does.
this piece here. And so the piece that we're making today, we're calling the year-end wrap because
it's
the year-end
year-end,
right now,
and
and
it's
we're
a wrap.
doing this live, and it's a wrap, right? And so this was a piece that I shared first with our Facebook Live group, the Bead Shop Community, the Bead Table. And if you're not a member yet, go over, answer 3 simple questions, and we'd love to have you join our community. We're almost 1,500 beaders strong over there, from
Which is pretty impressive.
It really is,
you know?
worldwide, from all over the world.
Yeah. I think it's so nice to be able to go on, ask a question, and kind of get the hive mind behind you.
Yeah.
And Kate and I chime in all the time. I'm
do.
on
Drea
my other
does,
job
you know,
on my 10-minute
yeah.
break, and
Yeah.
I'm, do this, and this.
Right, it's really great. So it's a really great way to bring people around the bead table,
Mm-hmm.
and we know that we have a lot of new people to beadshop.com, so we're very, very grateful to have you here. But this was a piece that I kind of put together sort of off the cuff earlier, and I posted kind of just a little simple photo tutorial about it. But this I think will really encapsulate, and I want to share with you kind of my design process that I work through with this. When Janice is here on the 17th, she's going to do a really great cuff project. What's that?
22nd.
Oh, the 22nd. I don't know why I have the 17th in my head.
Janice said the 22nd, so
Oh,
that's what
okay.
I'm going with.
Sorry, JP, you are here on the 22nd. Maybe it's because we moved some things around on the calendar, and that one maybe was originally on the 17th. Anyway, when Janice is here in January on the 22nd, she's going to share a cuff bracelet, and she's going to, her idea is mindful beading, I guess, is what her whole idea is
we
behind
talk
it.
about that a lot, actually, behind the scenes. Maybe not so much here live, but when we're beading or kind of creating art, if you want to say that, let's say it that way, it's you definitely get into a flow state or a zone state, and things just sort of happen.
Yeah, and
Sometimes with jewelry making, one of the things I think that's different about most art flow states is that it does actually take some technical skills.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you learn in jewelry making, traditionally, metalsmithing, for instance, you start as sort of an apprentice, and first thing you do is you learn how to saw, and you learn the hard way, and then you kind of move your way through.
Right.
But each of those stages that you kind of go through give you that little bit of a flow state. And I like it when my designing has that flow state happening to it, because that's when it feels the best.
And I think with different starting points, I think for me sometimes, especially when I'm designing for beadshop.com and not for myself, the materials really dictate the design for me a lot of times, because we've got a new chain in, we've got a new clasp in, we've got a new bead in, so that kind of pushes my creativity that way. So that's kind of what drove this design. And so let's take a look, Brandon, let's move the camera down and let's get started with looking at some tools and materials, and let's just jump into our project.
And while we're doing that, we should give a shout out to Gita, who's not feeling too well.
Oh, Gita.
And Janice, who's having to do all the linking today.
Well, JP, you are
Say hi
amazing.
Say hi to your mom.
Oh, and my mom's here. Hi, Mama. Great to have everybody here. It's really, really, we just love to see all of our friends.
I may adjust
here.
again depending
Yeah,
on
do
how
it.
you- when
Perfect.
Well,
And-
I'm just going to start there, and we'll see
Great.
where you guys work.
Where
and
we
I
land.
may.
Lynn had a comment that she just said that, do you sometimes sit down to make something and something else emerges?
All
from
the
that?
time.
All the time, Lynn. It's sometimes very hard to keep on track. There's a moment of squirrel, and you have to
Right.
write it down or drop everything and make that thing.
Right.
And sometimes you
Yeah.
do. Sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah. And I find that sometimes if I get an idea right in the middle of what I'm doing, I'll go ahead and just palette
Right,
and put it in a bag,
right.
you know,
And I palette and leave it out, which is my great
Right.
great mess
in
in
a
my
little bowl.
studio space.
So one of the things that has been really strong for 2017, and I think will continue to be strong for 2018, is chain. And we are, we have such a good amount of chain and a really, I think, fun selection. We've just added some chains to our collection. We have the leaf chain back in, and I know some of you have been asking for that leaf chain. There was a beautiful piece that was done on the bead table where someone laddered with that leaf chain, and it just looked amazing. So when I was looking through chain one day, I saw this keyholes chain, right? And I love it. I love that it's skinny yet substantial, all at the same time.
Light and substantial.
Yeah, that it's a slim, or that the silhouette is slim, but it still has kind of a substantial feel to it. Yeah, and so we carry it in some different finishes. And so the way that I started to design this piece was I started and I just grabbed the keyholes chain and put it down on my tray. Then I thought, well, I want to create some kind of a mixed media. So I thought, well, I always kind of go for, you guys know me. If you know how I design, you know that I love to use the little shadows, right? But I didn't throw little shadows in this one this time. But this opaque yellow copper, I think that's what this is, the 4mm opaque yellow copper, kind of has that same little shadows feel to it, right?
Well, Kate, you're nothing if not consistent.
Nothing if not consistent. And then I thought, well, I don't know. I don't use a lot of purple. I like purple. And this milky Alexandrite moon dust, I thought, was a good, they're kind of, what are they called on the color wheel? They're opposites, so they are...
What?
the yellow and the purple.
They're complementary?
They're complementary. Thank you. That's what I was searching for. They're kind of a complementary color there. So I got those two. Let me put on my glasses so I can see what's going on. And then we came in and I grabbed, so our temple bead that we've got going on here. And would you pull up for me, Emily, the project page from
Sure.
from the website,
Absolutely.
if you would? The temple bead is a new one for us, fairly new. And it's kind of, we call it the cousin to the shadow. And I really, keep going, the temple. So we have, this one's actually the copper. What I used in the piece, will you grab the brass one for me?
Sure.
That's the brass is on the list here.
Oh,
and I
okay.
wanted to show you. And would you also grab, Emily, for me, the little shadow?
Oh, okay.
Just to, I'll take that brass temple.
There
I'll
you
take
go.
that one. So your metal can be any kind of a complement, right? So we pulled this copper. The one that's listed in the sample is the brass. And then you could, of course, if you wanted, throw in that shadow bead instead. What we did with the other colorway is called Silver Mint. These temples do come in silver, but currently they're a little harder to source, a little harder to find. So you can see, let me pull this over so you can kind of compare and contrast how that temple bead versus that shadow bead kind of gives it a whole different air. You could also use a daisy spacer. You could use
flat
the
spacer.
Hishi. You could use any of those flat tribal beads that we have. Any of those
I like
will work.
I really like the little silver shadows. They give it a little pop and a little bit of brightness.
Yeah.
And I know where you were going with your darker colors,
Right.
and this just gives it to me a little bit of oomph, a little life.
A little bit of life. I
Yeah.
agree. And so the rest of the palette for this